So you want to start vlogging or you want to upgrade from your cell phone to a better looking footage. You got yourself an interchangeable lens camera like Sony a7 IV or Sony ZV-E10. So now the question is, which lens is great for vlogging? And to answer that question, you turn to YouTube. You watched some YouTubers and they're all lost in that technical explanations. But you want a simple answer. A vlogging system that is not in the way, but on the way with you. And that's why today we're gonna talk about these 4 lenses. And I'm gonna explain to you what these lenses do without getting too technical. Before we move on, if you know me, if you've been following my channel, you probably know that I've been using a lot of Sony gear on my channel. So I'm really happy to work with Sony as a sponsor so I can bring you this video. Let's go. This video is gonna be a lot of fun. By the way, all these shots in the intro are handheld and I applied stabilization later in the post. I didn't use gimbal or anything. No offense to Jason Wong.
None taken.
We have 2 cameras here, Sony a7 IV and Sony ZV-E10. Sony a7 IV is a full frame size sensor camera and Sony ZV-E10 is an APS-C size sensor camera. Yeah, but what does this full frame sensor APS-C sensor mean? Behind every lens, we have a sensor that captures the image. On its best camera, usually a smartphone has a sensor this size. APS-C sensor is this, and full frame sensor is this size. Bigger the sensor is, easier to capture light, meaning better looking footage in low light, great looking footage during daylight. But of course, bigger sensor means bigger camera, bigger lenses, heavier setup, but bigger battery. Smaller sensor means smaller camera, smaller lens, and much lighter setup. Let's say you want to film an adventure with your kids and you're going around, maybe you have one of your kids in your arm, the backpack is here, you already have a lot of weight. Then you may prefer a lighter setup that is easy and ready to go. Or let's say you're going on a vacation, there's going to be a lot of sun, a lot of beautiful nights with a lot of stars out there. Then you may say, I'm gonna bring a bigger setup because that's not an issue for me. A real life example for me is when I visited NAB, a convention that took place in Las Vegas. For that, I brought the 16-35 power zoom lens with a7 IV and I was able to take care of all the coverage I wanted with a really simple setup compared to what I used to bring back in the day. There are 2 types of lenses we're going to talk about today. Prime lenses and zoom lenses. Specifically, power zoom lenses. For the full frame sensor camera, we have Sony's 1.8 20mm G lens and 16-35 power zoom f4 lens. And for APS-C cameras, we have 11mm f1.8 lens and 10-20 f4 power zoom lens. So what is a prime lens? A prime lens means its focal length is fixed. The lens doesn't zoom in or zoom out. So why are we obsessed with prime lenses? Because these lenses will give you the beautiful depth of field, the beautiful bokeh, and really good low light performance. And a zoom lens, as you can guess, will zoom in or out when you rotate its ring. A power zoom lens, on the other hand, can zoom in and out with a touch of a button or just by pulling down this lever. And when you pull it down a little bit, it zooms in and out slower, and when you pull that all the way down or up, it goes faster. It also means I can zoom in and zoom out using the lever here, or I can use this Bluetooth grip handle and zoom in and out. By the way, most zoom lenses, when they zoom in or out, they extend. What that means is if you have your camera balanced on a gimbal, the balance of the gimbal will change because the weight, the center of the weight is gonna change. But these zoom lenses, they don't extend whether you zoom in or out, which means if you're gonna use these lenses with a gimbal or if you're balancing it on something, the balance of the camera will not change when you zoom in or out. Besides all these capabilities we've been talking about, these lenses are really small and light, which makes vlogging a lot easier because once you have these cameras in your hand for a long time, it may get tiring. But when your setup is light, you can hold these in your hand as long as you wish. Since we will be vlogging with these lenses, what matters the most is the focal length, meaning how wide a lens sees. This is extremely crucial for a content creator because you may be filming something and when you turn the camera to yourself, you want to be in the frame and you don't want to be filling up the frame if you're talking to someone, if there's something behind you that you want to show. And what makes vlogging so much fun to watch is vlog captures that moment and your camera has to be ready to go to capture that moment when you see something, when you want to talk about something, when you're feeling it, when the moment is there. That's why the camera has to be working for you all the time, which also means things need to be in focus. A vlogger is a one-person band, meaning there's no one that's gonna go ahead and check if you're in focus or not. That's why the camera has to work for you. That's why autofocus is very important. And autofocus on these lenses work great all the time. There's no magical setup or anything. You put these lenses on, they start working in whatever setting you're in. But that is not enough. Autofocus also has to be very fast and very quiet. You don't want to hear while the camera is focusing, and if you're shooting something in slow motion, you don't want that thing to be out of focus. Especially with ZV-E10 and A7 IV, since you can switch to slow motion very easily, this is going to be a feature you'll be using a lot. Now another thing, since these cameras are in our hands, we have a contraption like this. There's gonna be walking, talking, maybe running, laughing. There's gonna be some shaking. So let's talk about stabilization for a little bit. Because these lenses are wide-angle lenses, the stabilization is not a very big issue compared to what you would get with a narrow field of view lenses. But still, we have a lot of options with these cameras. We can either set it to have a stabilization in the camera while we're recording. Right now we are on Sony A7 IV and I'm using 16 to 35mm power zoom f4 lens, and I activated the active stabilization on the camera. Nothing is being added stabilization wise. Afterwards, while editing, or we can bring the files to our computer and apply a stabilization afterwards. But of course, besides videos, these cameras also take really good photos. So let's say you're reviewing a product, or let's say you're vlogging about your vacation and it's time to post that thumbnail that is gonna attract the people. Here's a little secret for you. Most of us actually just grabs one frame from the video because that's how good looking the footage is now. But if you want to take it a step further, if you want to add your face into it, or you want to do something else, let's say it's a product, then you can take really good photos with these lenses and then turn them into thumbnails that's going to attract people to watch your videos. Remember, if they don't click on your videos, they will not watch the videos. I also would like to talk about this grip. This grip connects to your camera wirelessly, meaning there's no cables, no nothing. This has its own battery. You can take photos. You can actually hold down the photo button halfway, then it focuses, and you push it all the way down, it takes a photo. You can zoom in and out. You can start recording a movie. You can lock these buttons so you don't accidentally press anything, and it gives you a customizable button for whatever you like. It's really easy to mount on the camera, and you can vlog like this, and if you like, it turns into a mini tripod, so you can film yourself like that. We also have this new ECM B10 microphone, and that just goes on top of the camera, and it is connected to the camera right now. And it has its own settings where you can set it to digital or analog. You can set the direction you want to record the audio. So if you're going to be talking to the camera like this, you can select the direction like this, so it only records the sound coming from this way. Or if you're interviewing someone and they're talking and you're talking as well, you can select that. Or if you want to have a little bit from the sides, you can select the middle one. And as you can see, no cables. So this is ready. And they all work together because it's all from Sony. And for windy days, you can put this on. And there you go, we are ready. By the way, if you want even smaller microphone, there's also ECM G1, Sony's super tiny shotgun microphone that supports MI shoe mount, meaning you can just plug this onto your camera and start using it without needing any cables. But if you do need cables, it has a microphone out as well. And for the windy days, it comes with this windshield. Back to the lenses. Lenses are really important because next time a new camera comes out, you will get the new camera and all those features are going to be used with these lenses. And since they're Sony's own lenses, once you get Sony's newer camera, you know they're going to be compatible. I've been making videos for more than a decade, and creating content has never been this easy. I wish we had these options when I was starting. The good news is they are here now and they are great. So if you're planning to create better looking content, this is a great time to grab a camera and these lenses that will last years and years. Well, thank you very much for watching this episode and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Sony, for sponsoring and making this video possible. Until I see you the next time, take really good care of yourselves and hoşça kalın.